So we're going to look at the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay, the Pythagorean Theorem is one of the more useful things we learn in math as far as like being able to apply it to the rest of your life and things like that. You have lots of occupations like construction and things like that that use this stuff regularly. And it can also be used for something as simple as hanging a picture frame in your house, and you want to make sure that it's nice and straight and square in there. So something that is very applicable to life as long as you know how to use it properly. Okay, the Pythagorean theorem, deals with right triangles. Okay, a right triangle is signified by that little box in the corner telling you that that is a right angle. Right, opposite from that right angle, not touching that right angle, is called the hypotenuse. Okay, the hypotenuse is letter C in your equation, your Pythagorean theorem equation. Okay, then these two sides that connect to make your right angle there are known as legs. You have a leg and a leg. Okay, these letters can be interchangeable. Okay, they can be A and B, B and A. It does not matter where you put those so long as these are your legs. Okay, the all-important formula for the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, for instance, if you had a triangle that had side lengths of 3, 4, and the hypotenuse was 5, okay, it would look like this. From here, there are two super important things about the Pythagorean theorem that you have to make sure you get correct. The first one is that this is not 3 times 2. This is not 3 2'd. This is not 3 times 2. If you put 6 right here, this would be wrong. If you put 8 here, that's wrong. If you put 10 here, that's wrong. This is not multiplying these numbers by 2. This little 2 right here tells you how many of this number you are multiplying together. Okay, this tells you you're multiplying 3 times itself 2 times. So 3 times 3, that would be 9. 4 times 4, that would be 16. 5 times 5, that would be 25. Okay, 9 plus 16 is 25. Okay, this does work out correctly, so that's good. The second thing you have to know, I told you there are two things. One is that you're not multiplying that by 2. The second thing is that you cannot just say 3 squared plus 4 squared, that's going to be 7 squared. Okay, 7 squared, 7 times 7 is 49. But when we work this out right here, we see that 3 squared plus 4 squared is not 49. 3 squared plus 4 squared is 25. Okay, so you cannot just add the two squares together and put a squared on it and say that's 7 squared. Okay, reason being, you'll remember PEMDAS. Okay, you have to do your exponents before you add. Okay, you have to do your exponents first, then you can add them together. So you got to get rid of that exponent, and then you can add what's left there. Okay, so anyways, moving on. Those are the two things you need to remember about this formula to make sure that you don't get those little things wrong. Now let's look at a little bit of vocabulary. Okay, a right angle. Okay, that's simply an angle measuring 90 degrees. Okay, we have legs on our right triangle. Your legs are the two shortest sides. And they're also the sides that connect to form the right angle. Okay, they're the sides that connect to form the right angle. Sorry about that. Okay, so your legs are the two shortest sides. They connect to form the right angle. Okay, then you have the hypotenuse. Okay, hypotenuse is the longest side, always the longest side. Okay, if you have 3 side lengths and they ask you which one's the hypotenuse, it's simple. It's the biggest number. So the longest side is the hypotenuse, and it is the side opposite from the right angle. Okay, it does not touch the right angle. If you look up here, it is the side over here. It does not touch the right angle. Okay, your legs, we denote with A and B. The hypotenuse is the C in that formula. Okay, in your Pythagorean Theorem formula that we talked about up here. So you got 2 legs squared and added together equal your hypotenuse squared. And then the last vocabulary word we're going to look at is square root. A square root. Okay, a square root is a value that, when multiplied by itself, gives that value or that number. For example, if you want to know the square root of 49, you say what times itself gives you 49? It would be 7, because 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, now we're going to look at a few examples of how they can ask you questions about the Pythagorean theorem. The first way that they can question you on it is they can ask you if something forms a right triangle. Okay, is this a right triangle? Getting a little lazy there. That's okay. So example 1, like this, 5, 13, 12. We want to know, is this a right angle right here? Okay, it looks like it, but with the naked eye, you can't tell if that angle is 89 degrees, 90 degrees, 91 degrees, 90.1 degrees. You cannot tell if that is a right angle or not. Okay, so the only way to do that is you have to use your Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we know the longest side, the one opposite from what would hopefully be our right angle, has to be c. The other two numbers, it does not matter what you put where. Typically, we put the smallest number as a, but there is nothing wrong with doing it the other way around. And then all you do is work it out. Square them, add them together, see if they are equal. 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. 13 squared is 169. We're trying to find out, are they actually equal? 25 plus 144 is 169. 169 is equal to 169. So yes, this is a right angle. Now I'm going to give you a second example. I want you to pause the video and work this out yourself. Okay, you have a 10, a 9, and a 6. Okay, work this one out on your own. When you're done, come back and unpause the video and see how you did. Now remember, that longest side there, that 10 has to be the longest side. The others do not matter. 6 squared is 36, 9 squared is 81, 10 squared is 100. 36 plus 81 is 117. 117 is not equal to 100, so no, this is not a right triangle. Okay, even though this looks like a right triangle, like it might be a right triangle, this would not make a right triangle. Because that is the first way they can ask you about the Pythagorean theorem, is figuring out if side lengths create a right triangle or not. Now we're going to look at the second way. The only other option, if they're not asking you if it's a right triangle, is asking you to find a missing side length. So one option is to find a missing hypotenuse. Okay, this is the easier of the two options to me because it cuts out a step. We'll call this example 3. Okay, on these, they tell you that it is a right triangle, so you know you can use the Pythagorean theorem. So we're looking for this side over here. We're looking for C. We know that it is the side opposite from the right angle. That has to be our C. So it would be 8 squared plus 15 squared equals C squared. 8 squared is 64. 15 squared is 225 equals C squared. 64 plus 225 is 289 equals C squared. Now, is C squared the same thing as C? I'm looking for C. C is my side length. No, C squared is different than C. C squared is C times C. That's not what we're looking for. But we know that 289 is equal to C squared. Now, say we had 21 equals 7x, and we were trying to figure out what to do on this. Okay, we would know that this right here is multiplying, so you would divide by 7 on both sides, you get your answer. Okay, come back to this one here. You divided over there because you were doing the opposite operation. So if we're squaring this, the opposite operation for that is called a square root. Okay, it's a little check mark box looking thing. It is a button on your calculator. To find that button on the calculator, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the second button, and then if you look down here, right above, kind of catty corner to the 7, right there, there's a little square root symbol. You would hit that, and then simply type 289, and it'll tell you the square root of 289 is 17. What that means is that 17 times 17 equals 289. So the square root of 289 is 17, and that would equal C. The most important thing for you to do before you move on from these questions is to make sure that 1, your answer fits with what you know about a hypotenuse, and 2, your answer makes sense for your triangle. So if we go back and look, I know the hypotenuse has to be the longest side. So if I've got an 8, a 15, and a 17, well, this would be my longest side, so that checks out. And it's also not something that is crazy. Like if I came up with an answer of 289, I forgot to do the square root, an 8, a 15, and a 289, that just doesn't fit. That just doesn't make sense. So that would be a send off bells in my head telling me that that is not quite right and I've done something wrong. So always check back and make sure that your numbers make sense with your triangle there. Okay, I'm going to give you this one, let you work on it. Okay, 30, 40, and you're looking for that missing hypotenuse over there. Okay, go ahead, pause this video, come back to it when you're done, and check your work. See how you did. See if we're getting it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, you need to fill in your 2 legs that you know. 30 squared is 900. 40 squared is 1600. We don't know C squared. 900 plus 1600 is 2500. Then you square root and you get 50 equals C. Now, always go back and check. I'm looking for my hypotenuse. That's my longest side. 50 would be the longest. And 30, 40, 50, that fits with kind of my triangle there. The last option for them to ask you about is to find a missing leg. Okay, when you find a missing leg, like I said earlier, this involves a little bit different step. Okay, it is the same formula and everything, but you do have to add a step in here that you didn't on the last one. Okay, you have to remember to do one thing. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We know that the hypotenuse is going to be our c. Does not matter which of these legs you look for. You can do a squared plus 9 squared. You can do 9 squared plus b squared. It does not matter. Either one's going to give you the correct answer. 9 squared is 81. 15 squared, 225. Okay, right here is where you have to remember. We're trying to get this a squared by itself, so you have to subtract 81. That leaves you a squared equals 144. And then your last step is to square root, and you get a equals 12. Okay. Again, just like last time, your last example, I'm going to let you work on it on your own. Okay, call this 24, this in 25, and see what you get for an answer. Okay, last one here. We know this 25 has to be our C. It does not touch my right angle. Doesn't matter which of those numbers you fill in for there. You get a squared plus 576 equals 625. You subtract 576, subtract 576. That leaves you a squared equals 49. Then your last step is to square root that 49 and that a, you get a equals 7. So 7 would be that missing side length there. Okay, 7 is not bigger than my hypotenuse, so we are good on that. Okay, thanks for watching this video. If you have any further questions about the Pythagorean theorem, feel free to reach out to me and I will try to clear up any questions any way that I can. Thanks, guys.